And now for more on this, I can bring in George Chewning, who is Executive Director of the US-Ukraine Veterans Bridge non-profit organisation, which is devoted to fostering links between military veterans in the two countries. Good morning, George. Europeans have accused Donald Trump of going over the head of them and also of Ukraine in this phone call to Vladimir Putin. Is this a betrayal of Ukraine?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. We believe all our partners should be at the table for this conversation. And it's really an opportunity to really think about what happens to the men and women that are fighting this war. We always knew that the war was going to end at some point. And now as we collectively feel like that moment is getting closer, now is the time to think about what comes next. The West has invested billions in Ukraine's defense. But a robust post-war reintegration plan is critical for a sustainable and free and democratic Ukraine.
And is there a possibility that Donald Trump might change tack again, given how unpredictable he's known to be?
Absolutely. That's always a possibility. I think the president understands what's at stake in Ukraine for the United States and for NATO. As the United States, we've seen catastrophic failures before when we don't support our partners, and we don't believe that that's what President Trump wants for our nation or for his legacy.
And what can Ukraine's European allies do to ensure that Ukraine has its say in these proposed talks?
We believe by continuing the conversation. I think there are many facets of these talks, and what we are focused on in particular are the men and women fighting and what happens to them when this ends. So as I said, it's a real opportunity to think about veterans, to invest in veterans, and position them to be future leaders and entrepreneurs in a post-war Ukraine.
Now, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said yesterday that everything is on the table in these talks. What is that likely to entail?
Well, for our work, that means we need to have started the conversation yesterday about the support programs and the support ecosystem for veterans. When the war ends, Ukraine will still have one of the largest militaries in Europe to deter future Russian aggression and to protect their borders. And a veteran support system is critical to maintaining a military that size and making sure that the veterans returning home to their communities are supported and cared for so they can directly contribute to any reconstruction or rebuilding plan that's proposed.
The Ukrainian government is being very diplomatic and measured in its response to this phone call by Donald Trump to Vladimir Putin. They're obviously very wary of incurring the US president's wrath. But what do you think they're really thinking?
Well, to be honest, they take this seriously. They've been engaged in a war that's stretched years now. And as I said, it was always going to end. And now they and other partners have to come together and figure out what that looks like and to really establish a foundation to also win the peace. What we focus on is the men and women that have fought this war coming home. They bring those scars and those challenges from the front lines, and to really win the peace and ensure a future stable Ukraine and a secure Europe, we need to start those conversations to build that support system.
Thank you very much for that, George Chewning, Executive Director of US-Ukraine Veterans Bridge.